This is Pat Soundbites Unplugged, the podcast where all the artists go to tell it as it is. Careers, music, tours, and more. And here's your host, the man that refuses to eat squid, Pat Calamari.
Hey, this is Pat Calamari, your host of Pat Soundbites Unplugged podcast. Hopefully everyone is doing well as we are in the wonderful year of 2021. Goodbye, 2020. Thank the Lord. Anyway, we still got rockin' interviews and rockin' new music to promote. And man, so happy to have this rocker on the line with me for episode number 112. I mean, I've been a big fan of Joel Hoekstra for a long time. Joel is one of the hardest working guys in the music business. Always sought out to play on somebody's track. He's toured non-stop. I mean, forget about 2020, but obviously 2017, 18, 19, between Whitesnake, Trans-Siberian Orchestra, of course, at the end of the year, the November, December time frame, and even Cher. But if you're a fan of Joel's like I am, and his side project, Joel Hoekstra's 13, and I loved the album Dying to Live, and a couple of tracks that I threw out on our rotation, Scream and Until I Left You. I mean, oh my goodness. You will fall in love with, guaranteed. This latest release that officially comes out on February 12th called Running Games. And man, have I just cranked every track up. Now I get the track from the label Rep. Right now there's only been 2 singles released, but wait till you hear all of it. Joel has kept his all-star lineup from Dying to Live, Why Change the Magic, with vocalists, and I mean great rock vocalists of Russell Allen and Jeff Scott Soto and Vinny Apathy on drums and Tony Franklin on bass and Derek Sheridan on keys and a few others here and there. But man, he hit the ball out of the park with this one. Great rock tracks, incredible melodies, great riffs, awesome lyrics. I'm telling you, I've always said to Joel, man, it's just too bad you don't have your own band. And I tell him on this interview, dude, man, if you had your own band and just toured playing your tracks, I'm telling you, the fans would love it. And he does get an opportunity here and there, mostly on the Monsters of Rock cruise, where he gets a couple of his friends, and they might know some of the songs, and he's able to showcase them. But for the most part, he's an incredible songwriter. I mean, how he put this whole production together. You listen to the tracks, and you listen to how he put this together, thinking of, who's going to sing the lead. Mostly on this album, it is Russell Allen, because the wonderful and great rock vocalist Jeff Scott Soto's got, only about 5 projects going on at once. And he just released his own solo album, which I had a chance to talk to Jeff late last year, which is a killer. And then Wet just came out with another album, and he's just so busy. But anyway, you're going to love this. You're really going to love this. And it's just a shame that Joel doesn't have the chance to really go out and promote this. I mean, I know right now we have no live shows, but who knows? Maybe down the road. I mean, even if he just played the songs as the opener for Whitesnake, I mean, it's just incredible. He is a complete all-around musician, one of the hardest working guys out there. Talk about somebody who's goal-oriented. He just knows what he's doing each and every day. And he'll tell you, as he told me in this chat, that, COVID did not, stop him from doing what he wanted to do. Obviously he's got a recording studio. He does what he needs to do. He sends the tracks out. The guys send it back to him, and he completes the task. So he's a worker. He's a doer, and you're going to love Running Games. Trust me. Guaranteed you're going to love it. And I encourage you to go out and buy it. Go out and even pre-order it. But it officially comes out on February 12th. The third single, I believe Joel said, will come out when the official release date arrives. Right now, he's got Hard to Say Goodbye is out there, and Finish Line, which has an animated, cool video. But go check it out. Always a pleasure to talk to my good friend, Mr. Joel Hoekstra. Sit back, as I always say. Thank you for sharing, and don't forget to share, subscribe, tell all your friends, do whatever you need to do. And as always, live, love, and laugh a lot, because life is way too short.
Hey everybody, this is Joel Hoekstra of Whitesnake, and you're listening to Pat's Soundbites Unplugged.
WBXO Classic Rock redefined in conjunction with Pat Soundbites Unplugged podcast. Great to have back on our rock and roll phone the amazing guitarist, busy guy in the business. He's been everywhere. Plays with Whitesnake, TSO, Cher, Night Ranger, Rock of Ages. The list goes on and on. He is sought after day and night to do great solos on other artists' records. I'm talking about the amazing Joel Hoekstra. Joel, what's going on, my man?
How's it going? Thank you so much for taking the time out tonight.
Joel, now the pleasure is mine to have you back on our line. Last time I got a chance to see you live, May 17, 2019, at the wonderful Turning Stone Casino in Verona. And you guys were popping lights during sound check, I believe, when we met after the show. The little delay on the show that night.
Oh, wow. Okay, really? Oh, okay. Interesting.
Yeah, no, the show was, the lights came on, the lights went off, the lights came on, the lights went off, and we met with you after the show with, actually, Jeff from TSO was with us in our little group, and you were explaining to us that for whatever reason, the casino was having concerns, but David, as well as...
It's so funny, I don't even remember any of that. It's so freaking amazing.
Yeah, no, it was cool because you said David was on the line with the lawyers, and it was great that everything got resolved, and it was a terrific show. But
Sweet, awesome.
I got to talk about this latest album called Running Games. Comes out officially on February 12th on Frontier, a follow-up of Dying to Live, and I know I drove you crazy because I love Dying to Live, and I played Scream and Until I Left You, and I'm going, when's the next one coming out, Joel? And you go, well, I'm waiting on Russell. Jeff is busy. I gotta wait on Russell, and here we are now, in 2021, and man, I tell you, you hit it out of the park. I love every track on it, and I'm not just bullshitting you. It's well, let me just start off by saying the first thing that caught my ear, Joel, was whoever mixed it, or the production wise. I love when I could clearly hear every instrument. Now, you got an all-star lineup that was there with you with Dying to Live, but to hear, Tony Franklin's bass and Derek on the keys and, Vinny, I cranked it up. I listened to the album 3 times in my headset, and I just love when you could really define each instrument. So kudos to you and kudos to whoever mixed it, because the sound on every track comes out, I thought, beautifully done.
Sweet. Oh, thank you so much. Chris Collier did a great job mixing. He gets great sounds, but he's also really amazingly accommodating when it comes to dealing with all my requests. And he's willing to try and tweak it and tweak it and tweak it and tweak it until I finally shut up.
Well, from Hard to Say Goodbye, I mean, well, let me go back. Let's go to the vocalists here. I mean, you had Russell and Jeff doing Jeff Scott Soto, great Jeff Scott Soto, and Russell Allen. I mean, to me, there are rock singers and they're a rock vocalist. And man, I got to tell you, you got two of the best rock vocalists in the world. And man, the emotions those guys put out behind the songs are just so incredible. I mean, you can't beat that, and I'm sure that's probably why change things like you had with Dying to Live when you're gonna put out another album called Running Games when the magic is right there. So I mean, those guys are top of the notch. You can't get any better, I don't think, with those guys. And when I hear Hard to Say Goodbye, and I mean, I'm like, it almost sounds like Scream. They sound so alike. I mean, Russell and Jeff, I mean, it's hard to even separate who's doing what. But Hard to Say Goodbye, Finish Line, and then I just fell in love with, and I highlighted these songs, Heart Attack, Lonely Days. I mean, the guitar riff, the backing vocals, Reach the Sky, Fantasy. I mean, Derek on keys, and then the guitar build-up. I mean, I'm super excited for your work here, and I think the fans are going to be too the minute the album is released and folks hear more and more of the tracks like I've been blessed to have.
Cool. Thanks so much, man. It's very early in the process, so I haven't had a lot of feedback on it, so that's very exciting to hear that you're enjoying it. So, I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head with not wanting to mess with the formula. I just wanted to maybe focus it a little bit more than Dying to Live, because Dying to Live kind of came to be what it through during it, if that makes sense. I started out thinking, okay, this is going to be a really heavy album, and we'll go with, and then as it went, it kind of, I went with more of the commercial stuff, starting to deal with Frontiers, and it just sort of like evolved as it went, whereas this one was sort of more of a stable, like, I know what I'm going for on this now, and so I think it's probably a little bit more focused, but the formula remains the same, that kind of Dio-ish at its heaviest, Foreigner-ish at its lightest, melodic hard rock.
Yeah, and you know what also caught my ear, Joel, was the fact that a lot of the songs I love, and I don't know if I'm going to come across saying it correctly, but the rhythm and the tempo changes on some of the songs. I mean, it's not that same, that commercial, you hear the song, you hear the verse, you hear the chorus, you get the riff, and then it's the same. A lot of the songs switch gears. I mean, and it just really caught my attention. You could, like I said, you could hear in Fantasy, the keys, I want to say, with Derek just takes off, and then your guitar build up. I mean, on Heart Attack, I mean, the keys, I wrote on my notes here, holy shit. I mean, it was like that song, like, wow. It was like, but that I found that throughout the whole album of that rhythm and tempo. And then the last song, Running Games, was just so laid back and a really cool tropical, great percussion feeling, and just another beautiful song with a melody, and it's pretty much really a perfect finish to what you laid out.
Yeah, that song was written after, like, that was the last one, right? So there's two bonus tracks that aren't on there as well that were more in the mid-tempo rocker, and I thought, boy, I've got a lot of mid-tempo rockers here, and it feels weird to just kind of go with, like, 3 or 4 of those at the end of the album, and I thought, what it makes sense is I had the name Running Games already. I thought I could go with, like, just an afterthought kind of thing, right, to close things, tie things up nicely and tie it all together. So that's hopefully what that song does, and it just gives it like a cool vibe to end it on, as opposed to just like, well, it's been this vibe for the last 20 minutes and now the album just ended for no reason, right? So anyway, that made sense in my mind in terms of the sequence of things.
Yeah, no, it just fits in. It puts it away like a glove. You did a terrific job. Let me switch gears, Joel. You're an incredible and amazing guitarist, and I know you practice, and I know you perform, and the TSO and the Cher and the Whitesnake, and you were a road warrior in 2019. I don't know about obviously last year was just, who would ever think that we would be in lockdown mode. My last live show, I want to say, was like February 15th. I mean, pulling my hair out of my head. I'm sure you got to be pulling your hair out of your head. But I wanted to.
Well, Well, I'm just approaching things with the same philosophy as always, just in terms of staying busy. So I'm just trying to be moving forward and staying productive. I think that's really the key to getting through the whole thing and not having it just completely wreck my mind. So I'm doing fine, all things considered. I would love to be able to be doing what we were doing with touring and all that, but in the interim, I'm just trying to make the most of it and not just let myself get to the point where I'm sitting around going, when are we going to be able to tour?
Right.
Counterproductive.
No, I hear you. But I want to switch gears and talk about more of the guitar end of things. I mean, you do some great guitar riffs and great solos. And I'm not a player, but I'm not a guitarist. But I wanted to just touch upon what are you thinking when you jump into a solo? Are you thinking like scales, or are you thinking like technical note for note? Or are you thinking emotion? What goes in your mind when you like jump into a guitar solo?
I don't know. I mean, I try not to think, because I know all the scale systems enough that typically nowadays I'm not really thinking about a scale system. I'm thinking about what I want to hear. So I think it comes down to more like just giving myself enough passes that I start to find things that I really like more than others.
Gotcha.
So I tend to just go ahead and jam over the stuff for a bit, and then eventually just sort of hone it and go like, yeah, that's what I dig. Okay. So nice, as always, a nice little mix of melody and flair and flash, right? And hopefully just find that happy medium where the stuff has some fire to it and I'm not just sounding like I'm playing Mary Had a Little Lamb, but at the same time, not just blazing a million miles an hour and not having any melody to it. So I just find that happy middle ground.
Right. I mean, you want the people to walk away with something. You want to have them feel something. You just don't want to, like you said, just blaze away here and then go, okay, well, I'm just shredding 100 miles an hour. Joel, what are 3 qualities that make a good guitarist?
I think it's different with everybody, man. I think there's one, and that's time spent with it. That is the quality right there.
The practice, right?
If you spend a lot of time playing guitar, you can be a good guitar player. There's so many different ways to go about it, and so many different mindsets, and so many different sounds, and so many different kinds of gear, and yada yada yada. So everybody's always got the "no, you got to do it this way" thing, and that's at the end of the day, that's all bullshit, because there's so many different ways to go about this thing. And I mean, you could go across the board and look at how many different virtuosos have been on guitar of completely different styles, right? From Andre Segovia to Joe Pass to Stanley Jordan with his touch technique, and I mean, you got all these guys playing completely different to the hard rock guys that we all know and love, and some of them are more blues based, some are more flash based, and so. But the one thing they all have in common is they've played a lot of guitar. There's not one of those guys says like, oh, I barely play. But I do this. It's like they've all spent a lot of time with it. So I think that's really the key in the end.
And I guess to go into that is, my question here is describe your tone. But would you say your tone is how you play? It's not the guitar. I'm sure it is a little ways, but the strings, the pickup, it's your own style on how you play, right? I mean, if Eddie Van Halen had a $300 Strat and also a $5,000 Strat, would he be able to just come out with the same sound?
Yeah, I think to a degree. It's how you play, but people often say it's your hands. But I think at the end of the day, a lot of it is what you're used to hearing. It's in your head. So if you have a certain sound that you're used to hearing, you're going to try and, no matter what, out of any setup, emulate that or coax that, right? So if a sound is too brittle compared to what you hear in your head, you're going to so I think that's how it works, and your tone evolves over time and changes, and like Eddie Van Halen didn't play with the same guitar sound for his entire career.
Right.
So it just depends on what you're hearing, what you're going for.
Right. Who would you say that? I know. I think in your bio I read, Angus Young, a few guys that back in the day that you said they were influences. But are there others that where you would say that those are the top three that caught your eye? But more importantly, why?
Well, I was young for the inspiration to start because of all his energy and what a rock performer he was. I just loved that. His high energy thing as a kid before I played guitar was what I was like, that's what I want to do right there. But I loved, early on, it was all about bands. It was not so much the guitar players. Like when I talk about being influenced by Black Sabbath, it's more the band than Tony Iommi per se, right? I used to just look at it like bands that I liked. So I liked AC/DC, Black Sabbath, Iron Maiden, Ozzy, Scorpions, like when I was starting out. And from there I'd say, I always forget to mention Dokken and Queensryche. I loved them. Rush. I loved everything Rush ever did. All the guitar records, the Yngwie and Satriani and Vai and Steve Morse, all those guys had influences on me, usually with their big records, right? Like, now these aren't guys that, and none of these are bands where I ran out and got their entire catalog. It's usually I owned a couple records from them and wore them out. So that's the way it went, man. But I was very open-minded, like mellower bands too, more melodic bands, like say Boston, Foreigner, Journey, loved all of them. So all that stuff is an influence and in there somewhere. But the one thing that always seems to ring true is it's like rock with melody.
Gotcha. And I think I asked you the last time, when playing with Whitesnake and TSO and Cher and all that just really, from an artist standpoint, it's got to keep you fresh. That, okay, we're switching gears, I'm playing with Cher tonight, or it's just got to keep polishing your skill level, right, to the way you can't, I mean, not to say you can't get any better, but it's like, it just, like I said, keeps you fresh. You're not complacent just with one band. You're doing the Joel Hoekstra 13, and then you got these others out there, but I guess as a guitar player, or whether a drummer or whatever, it just keeps you going, right? It keeps you, like, with all these other songs in these catalogs.
For me, the most important thing is being productive every day. And so I'm always just kind of taking a look at what I can do to be moving forward. And that's, in the end, that's what it comes down to, is like what you're doing every day, more than saying like, hey, sometime this month I want to do this. It's like, it has to always be now. So I just try and dedicate as much time as I can, one way or another, to moving forward, whether that be improving musically or trying to, obviously right now I'm working very hard on promoting the album today. I mean, I'm on interview number 9 here, so no matter what it is, I tend to dive in head first and be like, let's do it every interview there is, and get the word out and do as much as possible. So it just tends to be like one way or another, I'm going to be dedicated to this thing and put as much as I can into it, and hopefully be a good guy along the way, man. I don't want to just like be some miserable guy like working nonstop. So
no, I mean, I know I would drive you crazy going, man, I can't believe you're a hard worker and you're out with the other groups, but you don't get that opportunity. And I know you shared with me, I want to say like a Monsters of Rock cruise, that you got a few guys together and were able to play the Joel Hoekstra songs. I mean, whether it's Scream or Heart Attack here on the new album, I mean, it just drives me crazy that you don't have that luxury of going on tour, just showcasing your hard work and energy and the songs and the production that you have put together is amazing. And boy, if you were just to go on your own tour, I think you would do. I know you would do rather well.
Well, you never know, man. I mean, that's time will tell with that. At this point in time, we need to see when and if touring is even coming back, and if it does, then great. And I'll be pleasantly surprised, because I'm just trying to go with the mindset that it's not for the time being. And then if it does come back, awesome. And if I can find any avenues to get out there live with this thing, I'm going to do it for sure.
I just want to touch upon one more question about the album. Talk to me, Joel, about the songwriting and the concept behind that. I mean, like I said, these songs are killers. How I know it took you a while to put it together, dealing with the all-star lineup of everybody else's schedule, and obviously probably recording at home and with this whole lockdown, everybody transferring WAV files or whatever, how it happens. But I mean, when you write a song like Heart Attack or Hard to Say Goodbye or Running Games, how does it begin? Is it the lyric? Do you grab the guitar or you jump on a piano? Or where does it come from? How does it begin?
So, typically it starts with a guitar riff, and I'll write a chorus. So I'll be singing a chorus of some kind, and then I'll build it out with the other guitar riffs and maybe what the vocal would be singing in terms of the melody, but not all the lyrics on the spot. The writing lyrics, like an entire song lyrically, like right on the spot, usually doesn't happen for me. I'll have a melody, and then I'll revisit it later and write all the lyrics, like fill it all in. So I'll have usually a melody for the entire thing. And then sometimes that melody for the chorus happens without a guitar in my hand. So if I'm walking around, I'll sing a chorus, and I'll go, oh, that's a good chorus, and I'll drop it down on my phone. I'll sing it in my voice memo or whatever as I'm walking on the street. So that happens a lot. But that's the usual process. And then later, as the album gets closer to being done, I'll fill in all the lyrics for the verses and pre-chorus and bridge and et cetera. And then lay those down on a guide vocal for Russell, and then Russell listens to that back and just sings it a whole lot better than me. Basically.
I love the album cover. It's a little bit like the Dying to Live with the triangle. You can't see the eye, but it's like, is that going to be like the Running Games is like you see obviously the people running, a little bit of a TSO like explosion and people are running. The artwork, does the artwork mean a lot to you to represent the content of the music, reflect the musical content, I should say?
It's a lot like the way I produce the music, where I just let people do their work. So hire a graphic artist and maybe give them a loose concept of what the album's going to be about lyrically or whatever, and then just let them go. So that's pretty much just the graphic artist. Christine Robinson did all that. So she did a cool job. I think I like it to be artistic, so people can find meaning in it, not just be like, here's what it means, you know?
Right.
So, anyway, there you go.
Well, officially comes out on February 12th, Frontier Music. I love the animated video. For Finish Line, I love Hard to Say Goodbye. I guess I am blessed ahead of the fans to get a taste of everything, and I am in love with it. It's going to be a hard one to put, which ones we're going to put on a rotation, but I trust me, my friend, we're going to be rocking a lot of these tracks here on our show. You can go check out Joel's stuff and what he's doing at joelhoekstra.com. He's on Instagram, joelhoekstra13, Facebook. Hit the like button, go to his YouTube channel, hit the subscribe button. It's all good. Joel, are you still doing the master classes as well? If folks are interested to take a lesson or two?
Yeah, well, I'm just teaching one-on-one with people, and they can always hit me up. If they go to my website, joelhoekstra.com, if you click contact, that's my email. You can hit me up for lessons on there. But yeah, I'm very busy doing that, and occasionally the master classes as well, where I do like more than one people. I'm teaching a class, so that would be usually for Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp. I do that. So yeah, still doing that as well. Somebody
shared with me like Fender and Gibson are out of guitars because of this lockdown, which is really good to hear that, you know, folks have a big interest in music and are grabbing the instruments and sitting home and, you know, working with folks like yourself maybe, or getting lessons, and I think that's good to hear for the maybe next generation of rockers out there.
Yeah, definitely. That's awesome.
Joel, let's put an end to interview number 9 or 10 for the evening. I hope I had different questions than the other 8 or 9. I hope you enjoyed the conversation as much as I have, and I can never thank you enough for your time and meeting you after a show a year and a half ago, and certainly look forward to seeing you back on the road. I know you're looking forward to it as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time. And yeah, your energy was brilliant. Great way to end the day.
There you go. Joel Hoekstra, Running Games. Go buy it. Go check it out. Right here on WBXO, where we are classic rock. We're redefined and in conjunction with Pat Soundbites Unplugged podcast.